Hello, my name is Alec Mitchell, and I'm a consultant at netlogx. Today I was asked to talk a few minutes about change, which is a hot topic in the world we live in today, but if you think about it, it's been a hot topic always, and it probably always will be. And that's okay, except for that oftentimes people associate change with scary. That is likely because change is something that doesn't fall in our comfort zone. Our comfort zone is made up of the things that we do that we know, the people that we're used to working with, the strategies we're used to taking, the tools that are in our toolbox. As soon as change comes about, all of that goes out the window and we might start to get a little panicky. So the important part about that is, though, not that we can stop it from coming, but that we have little techniques in our back pocket to help us try to manage this change. So I'm going to talk about one small thing you can do, work-related, professional life, or your personal life, that you can try to implement next time you're upfront with change and an unexpected scenario. So let's pretend that you are told that you have a test you have to take in 2 weeks. Much like a lot of other people, you will probably say, well, I have a test in 2 weeks and I have to learn subjects 1, 2, and 3. If I choose to not study subject 3, I expect to maybe not do that well on subject 3. But as long as I make sure I study subjects 1, 2, and 3, before 2 weeks is up, I'm going to show up to my test and feel fairly prepared that I'll do well because I know what's coming. Well, tomorrow you walk in, we'll say class, and there's a pop quiz. Well, that was not in your game plan. Maybe you said you were going to study subjects 1 and 2 tomorrow and 3 next week. Well, you haven't gotten to any of that. So now you start to feel a little panicky. You say, okay, I'm feeling a bit anxious. I should have done this. I didn't create my schedule well. I should have been studying earlier instead of doing that thing before. And you start to get overwhelmed with your emotions. One thing that we can do when we start to feel overwhelmed with these emotions, when change comes in unexpectedly, someone throws your plans for a loop. Try to take a second, say you're feeling frustrated and angry even. That's okay. Allow yourself those feelings, but say, I'm going to put you aside for just a second. For just a second, I'm going to put you aside. I'll be right back. I'm going to be angry or frustrated or whatever, maybe. But for just a minute, because my technique is that I'm going to take one small step forward. I'm going to do one thing that I can think of, small or big. It can even be writing down 3 things that I want to do next week, or emailing one person and explaining what happened. Whatever small thing you think will help this problem now, you're going to do that. And then I'll be right back to the frustration and anger. I'm going to be angry in a minute, but just let me do one thing. What you're going to find is that as soon as you took a second to ignore your frustration and your anger, or whatever feeling you're feeling from this unexpected introduction to change, is that I did that small thing, and as soon as I turned to go back to be angry and frustrated, because that's what I allowed myself to do, I all of a sudden wanted to go back and do one more small thing. All of a sudden, that one step started turning my gears, and I thought of one other little small step. So I did that really quickly. And then all of a sudden, I thought of 2 more things. So I'm going to just quickly do those, and then I'm going to go back to being angry and frustrated. So what you're going to find is, just by allowing yourself 30 seconds or a minute, whatever it takes, to do one small thing before you start to get overwhelmed with that emotion that the change brought, is you start to feel control. You start to feel like, rather than being thrown off the tracks, is you actually have a grasp on what's happening. And before you know it, you've taken 10, 12, 20 small steps that have ultimately led you back on a path towards success. It may not have been a path that you were planning on taking originally, because you had 5 things of change come in and throw you off track. But by allowing yourself just a second to take one small step forward before you start to feel overwhelmed, before you know it, you're in control again. And that's what we call managing change, is managing it by being the first one to take action. You may feel frustrated or angry for a second, however, you get through that. But sometimes one small thing will lead to many small things, which leads to a big thing, and it can happen even before the change gets in your way of your problem solving and your way of making sense of things. It doesn't have to be the first thing that happens when change is introduced. Instead, think, I've got this one technique in your back pocket. I'm going to try it. And then the next time you're going to remember how you had a grasp on it and you're going to try it again. And eventually change might start to be a normal thing for you, but you know how to take control of it before it takes control of you. So that is my one technique I would recommend. You can use it in your personal life or your professional life, but I hope it does help. Thank you.